I opened my home to care for a little girl no one else would take, but her mother turned the whole neighborhood against me with a lie that broke my heart. A year later, she was gone, and I was left picking up the pieces of the life I'd built for those kids. My name is Lila, and I was 19 when I started hating my life, not because of anything dramatic, but because of the slow, grinding weight of it. I lived with my mom and my younger sister, Mia, in a cramped 400-square-foot apartment in a small town where everyone knew everyone else's business. Mom worked double shifts at the diner, and I was the one keeping things together, paying bills, cooking, making sure Mia didn't flunk 8th grade. We were barely scraping by, and our fridge was more likely to hold leftover ketchup packets than actual food. But then Mia got sick, not just a cold, but something that landed her in the hospital for weeks. The bills piled up, and I dropped out of community college to pick up extra shifts at the gas station. It wasn't enough. That's when I had the idea to start a daycare. I'd always been good with kids. Mia was proof of that. She was a handful, but I'd raised her through tantrums and teenage attitude. I figured I could handle a few more kids and make some money while I was at it. I started small, turning our tiny living room into a daycare space. I put up flyers around town, offering affordable childcare for working parents. $5 an hour, max of 3 kids under 8. I didn't have a license, but I was careful. Background checks on myself, first aid training from a free community class, and a strict no-nonsense policy. My best friend Tara jumped in to help, mostly because she was unemployed and bored. She took 15% of the earnings, and we split the work. Within a month, we had 3 kids showing up every day after school. There was Ethan, a shy 5-year-old who loved puzzles, Sophia, a 7-year-old who never stopped talking, and then there was Amara. Amara was 4, with these huge, curious hazel eyes and a laugh that could make you forget how tired you were. But her mom, Vanessa, was off. Every time she dropped Amara off, she'd barely look at her. She'd shove a ratty backpack into my hands, mutter something about being late, and bolt out the door like the place was on fire. At first, I didn't think much of it. Some parents are just stressed, right? But Amara was different. She'd show up in clothes that were too small, her shoes practically falling apart. Her hair was always tangled, like it hadn't seen a brush in weeks. I'd braid it for her, and she'd beam like I'd given her the moon. "Nobody does my hair like you, Lila," she'd say, her little voice so earnest it hurt. One day, while she was coloring, I noticed her nails. They were caked with dirt, and her hands smelled faintly of something sour, like unwashed dishes. I asked her when she last had a bath, trying to keep it light. She shrugged, her crayon pausing mid-stroke. "Mommy says baths are for weekends." It was a Tuesday. My stomach twisted, but I didn't push. Instead, I grabbed a pack of baby wipes and cleaned her hands, pretending it was a game. She giggled, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. By the end of the 2nd month, we were doing okay. The daycare was bringing in enough to cover Mia's meds and keep the lights on. Tara and I moved operations to Mrs. Carter's house across the street. She was a retired nurse with a big, cozy place, 2 living rooms, a fenced backyard, and a kitchen that always smelled like cinnamon. She let us use it for 10% of our earnings, saying, "If it helps the kids, it's worth it." We were up to 6 kids now, and I was starting to feel like I was building something real. But Amara's situation kept nagging at me. One afternoon, I noticed her scratching her scalp so hard it bled. I parted her hair to check, and my heart sank. Her scalp was flaky, crusted with something that looked like weeks of neglect. I asked Tara to take a look, and her face went pale. "Lila, this isn't normal. We need to do something." I nodded, but I was scared. I wasn't a professional. What if I was reading this wrong? What if Vanessa just needed help? I decided to talk to Vanessa first. When came to pick Amara up that evening, I pulled her aside. "Hey, I noticed Amara's been scratching a lot. Maybe she needs a special shampoo or something?" I kept my tone soft, non-accusatory. Vanessa's eyes narrowed, and she crossed her arms. "She's fine. Kids get dirty. You're not her mom." Her voice was sharp, like I'd insulted her. Before I could say anything else, she grabbed Amara's hand and yanked her out the door. Amara looked back at me, her eyes wide, like she was trying to say something without words. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Amara's tangled hair, her dirty nails, the way her mom wouldn't even hug her. I called Tara, and we talked it over. "We can't just let this go," she said. What if it's worse than we think? So the next morning, I called Child Protective Services. My hands were shaking as I dialed. I'm running a daycare, I explained. And there's a little girl who's not being cared for properly. Her hygiene is really bad, and I'm worried she's not safe. The social worker on the phone sounded exhausted. Is there any physical abuse? Bruises, cuts, anything like that? I hesitated. No, it's not like that. It's neglect. She's not being bathed, her clothes don't fit, her hair's a mess. There was a pause, then a sigh. Neglect is tricky. We'll need more evidence. Can you document anything? I promised I would, but when she hung up, I felt like I'd been dismissed. Like Amara didn't matter. Tara and I started keeping a log. We noted every time Amara showed up in the same clothes, every time her hair smelled worse, every time she seemed hungrier than the other kids. I bought a cheap toothbrush and started brushing her teeth after lunch, telling her it was princess time. Her gums bled at first, but she didn't complain. She just smiled, like it was the best part of her day. A week later, I saw something that pushed me over the edge. Amara's socks were so worn out that her toes were poking through. When I changed them for a spare pair we kept, I noticed her feet were covered in sores, like she'd been walking barefoot somewhere rough. That was it. I called CPS again, this time with photos I'd taken on my phone. Her scalp, her feet, her two small clothes. This is serious, I said, my voice breaking. She's not okay. This time they listened. A social worker named Karen came to Mrs. Carter's the next day. She was older, with a no-nonsense vibe, but kind eyes. She asked to see Amara, and I watched as she gently checked her over, asking her questions in a soft voice. Amara clung to my hand the whole time, like I was her lifeline. Karen took notes, then turned to me. You did the right thing calling us. We'll visit her home tonight. I felt a mix of relief and dread. Relief that someone was finally taking it seriously. Dread because I knew Vanessa wouldn't take this lying down. Sure enough, that evening, she stormed into Mrs. Carter's house, her face red with fury. You called CPS on me? She screamed, pointing at me. The other parents, picking up their kids, froze. You think you're better than me? You're just a kid playing daycare. Tara stepped between us, her voice calm but firm. Vanessa, we're worried about Amara. That's all, Vanessa laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. Worried? You're trying to ruin my life. She turned to the parents, her voice carrying. This girl's been mistreating my daughter. Look at her feet, those sores? That happened here. My heart stopped. The parents looked at me, doubt creeping into their eyes. Mrs. Carter, standing by the door, shook her head but said nothing. Vanessa grabbed Amara and left, but the damage was done. The next day, 2 parents pulled their kids from the daycare. By the end of the week, we were down to just Ethan. The rumors spread like wildfire. Lila's daycare wasn't safe. Lila was hurting kids. Lila was in over her head. Mrs. Carter, worried about her own reputation, asked us to stop using her house. I believe you, she said, her voice heavy, but I can't have this tied to me. Our income vanished. Mia's meds were running low, and I was back to counting pennies for groceries. The apartment felt smaller than ever, the walls closing in as I listened to Mia cough in her sleep. Tara was devastated, blaming herself for pushing me to call CPS. But I couldn't regret it. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Amara's hazel eyes, her trust in me. I'd done it for her. A week later, Karen called with an update. Amara's been placed with her grandmother temporarily, she said. The home visit confirmed neglect. Unsanitary conditions, no food in the house, medical issues untreated. You were right to report it. Her words should have felt like a victory, but they didn't. The daycare was gone, our reputation was trashed, and Vanessa wasn't done. She started showing up everywhere, outside our apartment, at the gas station where I worked, at the grocery store. She'd yell to anyone who'd listen that I'd abused her daughter, that I'd framed her to cover my tracks. One day, she showed a neighbor a photo of Amara's arm, bruised and swollen. This is what Lila did, she said, loud enough for the whole street to hear. The neighbor, someone I'd known since I was a kid, wouldn't meet my eyes. The bruises were new, from after Amara was taken from our care. I knew it, but no one else did. The accusations stuck, and soon, people stopped talking to me. At the gas station, customers would ask for someone else to ring them up. Mia came home crying, because kids at school were saying I was a monster. I'd lie awake at night, wondering how it had all gone so wrong. All I'd wanted was to help. Tara refused to give up. "We need proof," she said, slamming her fist on our rickety kitchen table. "We have those photos you sent to CPS. We need to show people the truth." So, we started fighting back. I printed out the photos in our log, detailing every sign of neglect we'd seen. Tara went door to door, talking to parents who'd pulled their kids, showing them the evidence. Most didn't want to hear it. They'd already made up their minds. But then something shifted. Karen called again. "Amara's father has come forward," she said. "He's been looking for her for years. Vanessa took her and disappeared after their divorce. He wants to meet you." I was stunned. A week later, we met David, Amara's dad, at a coffee shop. He was tall, with tired eyes and a quiet strength. He shook my hand, tears in his eyes. "You saved my little girl," he said. "I didn't even know where she was until CPS called." He showed me a photo of Amara, taken just days ago. She was smiling, her hair neatly braided, her clothes clean and new. She looked happy. "She talks about you all the time," David said. "She says you made her feel special." I cried right there in the coffee shop, the weight of everything hitting me at once. And David didn't stop there. He organized a town meeting at the community center, inviting everyone who'd heard Vanessa's lies. He stood up in front of a packed room and told the truth. How Vanessa had neglected Amara, how I'd been the one to notice and act, how the bruises appeared after Amara was out of my care. He showed medical records, CPS reports, everything. "Lila didn't hurt my daughter," he said, his voice steady. "She gave her a chance." The room was silent. Then Mrs. Carter stood up, tears streaming down her face. "I was wrong to doubt you, Lila," she said. "I want you back in my house, running that daycare." One by one, parents came up to apologize. Some offered to pay double to bring their kids back. Others brought casseroles, clothes for Mia, even toys for the daycare. Vanessa was gone by then. David said she'd skipped town when she learned he was involved, probably scared of losing custody permanently. Her apartment was empty, her car gone. The rumors died down, and slowly, we rebuilt. Mrs. Carter welcomed us back, refusing her cut of the earnings. "You've earned it," she said, hugging me tight. Within 2 months, the daycare was thriving again. 8 kids, more than ever. I enrolled in online childcare courses, determined to get certified. Tara started a blog about our experience, hoping to help other small daycare providers avoid what we went through. Mia's health improved, and she started helping with the kids, her laughter filling the house again. The best moment came a year later, when David sent me a video of Amara's 5th birthday. She was blowing out candles, her smile wide and bright, her hazel eyes sparkling. There was a note. "Amara says to tell Lila she's her hero." I framed it and hung it in the daycare, right next to a photo of Mia and me, laughing together. Looking back, I realize Amara changed me. I thought I hated my life, the constant struggle, the weight of responsibility. But she showed me I could make a difference, even when it was hard, even when it cost me everything. Sometimes the things that break your heart are the ones that show you who you're meant to be.